Guess
take
what?
it back.
I did
You
it!
have to stop.
No! Will not, cannot. We're streaming right now. It's happening.
Who will make it through this game of murder alive?
Perfect. 10 out of 10.
Oh, Skellyman's on the screen again.
Yeah,
I like him. We have to actually play the game, unfortunately.
Don't sound so
Can't
excited
just watch
about
the
it.
man say, "Now giant scissors once again search for prey forever." There we go. Hang on. Yeah, okay. We in.
No hanging on. Only going.
Yeah. We gotta talk to Noe 2 times.
So we can play as Jennifer again?
So we can play as the other lady we went the last time.
Is it? I thought.
Because we only talked to Noe once the first time, didn't we?
Oh, excuse me. I don't fucking know.
I wanna be the one we weren't last time.
That's fair.
Is the move.
Hi, Allie. Remember how you thought the game was broken when that happened?
You mustn't hypnotize her like this.
Yeah.
She's not ready to remember the murders
I
yet.
remember the staff man keeps
are
hypnotizing the
fascinating
lady.
Mm-hmm.
So tell him
must know
about
the
the
truth,
scissor
woman.
man.
She can't take any more of this today, Professor. I'm taking
I'm
her
gonna
home.
pick his nose.
Do it.
A cat. It's too hard. The mouse is too wiggly.
Only talk to Harris once.
You are also my assistant.
I thought it was Noean. Okay,
It's not
who's
Noean.
Harris?
Harris is the weird little man in the hallway on the first floor that you
And I
talked
talked to
as
him
Barton.
too many times.
You talked
first
to him
time.
too many times the first time.
So I had to play as the wrong lady.
Yeah. Yeah. Why is it doing this?
Consider.
What the fuck?
Sir, does this happen every time you look at scissors? You might be the scissor man.
Is Barton his scissor man? Is Barton his bug his scissor man?
We are wondering about the giant bug that shows up on the main menu cutscene. We were theorizing. The theorizing went, maybe Scissorman's like a bug. It's pretty much all you miss.
Yeah.
He's
It's
like
fun.
a bug man.
What if Scissor Man were actually a scissor bugman?
Like a big ant with mandibles, but instead of mandibles, it's
there's
scissors. I'm not sure what things I have to interact with before I'm allowed to leave the room, so I'm just gonna try and look at everything.
Just interact with all of it. Since we're doing Helen's route, do we want to do what we did last time and just kind of wing it, see what ending we get?
Yeah.
Okay.
Purple
All
blob.
right.
My
Hello.
favorite purple mound. My
It's
treasure.
the Purple Mound!
Yeah.
We love Purple
Safe and
Mound
sound.
here. Seems to be hiding some sort of secret.
Is someone like printing out a million pages in the background?
Yes.
You can hear all the sounds now.
Right? You get to enjoy all the noises that I got to hear last time.
I did turn it up a bit as well, because it was really quiet as well as my headphones just being terminally quiet.
This is fine.
I think Bear did it. With his bare mandibles.
Bear. Oh no.
His mandibear.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's not even good. It was
No.
terrible. Trash.
Yeah, that was.
It's not even a good bit. Just dump it. Hey, look, a funny mouse. I'm gonna pick.
No.
I'm gonna pick his
We have.
nose. Look at that. Look at
We
me
have to go back to the
doing it good.
Mandabears. You can't pretend that didn't happen. Anyone could be the Scissor Man. If his
Even
silly rubber
a
mask
big
is still
bug.
everywhere. Even
Or
a
a
big
lot of
bug.
small bugs, like in a trench coat.
Is this an Oogie Boogie situation?
Could be an Oogie Boogie situation.
A bunch of little tiny bugs in a giant bug trench coat.
Yeah.
Masquerading as a big bug. But actually, it's 10 million little bugs.
Okay. So
Shouldn't
do I
keep
need
the...
to talk to Harry? Oh, fuck off, Batten.
Barton, please.
We need to... The first step to getting the good ending is we need to crack the code of how do we leave the first room. Man, I've got a... Oh. Can I...
Did we talk to Lady multiple times?
Okay, I'm no longer watching my own stream.
Lady?
I've talked to it twice. Do I look at the computers? Do
Oh,
I
wait,
look at the mound again?
Yeah, don't we have to, like, send the mound to somewhere?
Oh, do I? How do I
Yeah.
send mound?
You, like, look at it, and then Lady talks to you and is like, oh, there's that librarian who wants to look at it, or the weird butler! I don't remember if that's now, but...
Yeah. I'm just standing here looking at this purple mound.
Unless you can talk to her about it now? That's
okay.
Helen's desk.
That's Helen's desk.
No, never
It's
mind.
not doing anything interesting. Can I... Do I need to see the bear before... No, man, please.
You must look at Bear
Yeah.
while we listen to the 5 million faxes come in.
This faxes.
Probably,
Although
maybe.
just like printing infinite sheets of paper.
It's just a bunch of paper that says, have you seen this man? And then it's just scissors. Not even a
I
picture
didn't
of
click
the
the mask, I clicked the computer. Get out of here.
scissors.
I was nowhere near the dang mask. It's Harris's desk. Don't
Harris,
talk to him too
Harris,
many
what do
times,
you do
so
here?
you'll be the wrong lady.
It's true.
And then you'll get killed by a child.
Hey!
Hey! What's out the door?
You just have to look at literally everything. I think you have to look at the mound a couple of times. That's Harris. Only
Can we
speak to
run
him the
past him?
once. No.
We've escaped Harris. No!
See,
The
we
lift
just
doesn't work.
making him play tile game would mean that we would have to play tile game, and that's unacceptable.
Have to engage the scissor man at Domino's.
Also bad tiles. Anything involving tiles, I'm not about it.
Okay, so Harris is being avoided. We have dodged Harris. We have reached
Are we just
Millian.
not talking to him at all?
I'll never talk to Harris.
Okay, alright.
Because then you get locked into the bad ending if you talk to Harris. Because you play as the lady who gets killed by a child.
Only
Like,
if
have
you
an
talk to him
expert.
multiple times.
Now what it is if you talk
Okay.
to Harris.
Alright, you know what you're talking about. I trust you.
My uncle actually works at Nintendo. So
Aw,
he made
shit!
this game.
Perfect! Can ask Uncle Nintendo about all of the tips and tricks for pranking Scissor Man. No, it still won't be
Fun
fine.
fact, you can hit him with a pan and a sword.
I liked the pan one. I really liked the one where we, like, ran out the door to nowhere, and he just fell. forever.
Oh, we kept getting pranked by the daughter Noah. I thought she'd like, knowing that it was the daughter Noah, she'd try and push him out, but she just went out again.
No. This time she knew what to expect and held onto the doorknob a little more tightly, a little more securely.
She had a heck of a grip. Just very weak to being stabbed. Horrible. Are we done with Noyan yet? No, we are still talking to Noyan. There is a murderer who used a giant pair of scissors as his murder weapon.
That doesn't make him into an immortal monster!
Look, it's just some odd screwball. The rumors about the Scissor Man being a bunch of bugs in a stack. Nothing but rumors.
Unfounded. Makes no sense.
Snip, snip, not the scissor man. Kayshurrr tremble.
Hi, Spaghetti. Thank you for the sub for 4 months. Goodness gracious. How are you doing, though, friend? How's it going?
Gotta get back to the lab. I'd watch out for that young boy about 10 years old. He'll get you.
Edward?
Edward. Scissor Man and his accomplice, Knife Child.
Not Knife Child.
The worst crime doing duo.
Yeah, not crime fighting.
Mm.
Only crime doing. Also, I liked how it looked like the elevator had no floor, so Barton was sort of just floating there.
It's a special elevator.
The floaty elevator.
They have them in nondescript Europe. Harris, don't touch my fucking cube. That's mine.
Is it Harris that we give it to?
Oh, I don't want to give Harris this. I don't want to give Harris my mound.
Gotta give Harris your mound. I'm sorry.
Game, don't make me talk to Harris.
Just the once. It's fine.
Harris, you're very sure. That's all I have to say.
It's almost like Harris could be the Skizzers man.
Maybe it's Harris with Edward stacked on top of him.
Didn't we theorize that last time?
I had forgot if we did.
I think we did.
I've talked to him once and I might need to talk to him again because I can't leave.
I think it might be you only talk to him the once in the hallway, so you should be fine here.
Okay.
Also, this game is weird and ridiculous and wiggly and kind of hard to play, but it's fine. Birdie's an expert at Clock Tower now,
Yeah.
because they have beaten it at least once.
I've beaten this video game. Oh, okay, we're doing the thing.
Do you want to send it to a librarian, a specialist in these kinds of artifacts, or some random butler?
We gotta send it to the old man called Rick. I am gonna ask Harris as much as I hear. You could do that right now since he's just over there. Harris, find a man named Rick and show him this mound. Any Rick will do.
Any I was gonna say that. Doesn't matter which Rick. We're gonna find a Rick. Thank you for the lurk, Bono.
Hey, Bono.
Find Rick. Give him mound.
Make sure Rick gets that weird mound. It's very important to me.
It's my favorite mound.
Yeah.
The bestest mound.
The Granite Orphanage does not sound like a good place.
What do you mean? Sounds like a lovely place. Wait, this kid's name isn't even Edward? That's just what
No
we're
one knows his
calling
name.
him?
Got amnesia.
Why would you find a child and be like, I'm gonna call you Edward?
You are Edward now.
Name him something cool, like socks or something. I don't know.
Because of his socks.
Yeah, I guess.
After a shirt
Call,
hole.
yeah, I was gonna say call him Hole.
Call him hole.
Call him Hole. Yes, hello. I am the orphanage director. This is my newest child, Hole.
Yeah,
Because he has holes in his shirt.
nothing wrong with that.
This is fine. You get to play as Helen!
I'm the Wallace and Gromit lady.
You're the Wallace and Gromit lady.
Yeah.
I wonder if she gets different pranks for the Scissor Man.
Possibly. Why she cat prank Scissor Man? What if only the other one has that power?
I would cry and riot and yeah. We would have to play a different game at that point. That would be unacceptable. I'm sorry, I'm just here for the good goofs.
Go back to Dying Light and do some big jumps. Oh god, not the police station. Okay, we
Don't go
can't go
there.
to Noyan's house.
Not
And we
going
gotta-
yet.
I don't want to talk to Edward. Okay, never mind. I guess we're going here.
Oh no.
I hate these bits. I never know how to make them advance.
You gotta go see Ed Hole.
Hey, Ed Hole. Holewood.
Holeward! I like that. This is my child, Holeward.
What? We named him after the hole in his shirt. But we haven't told him about the hole in his shirt, and he's going to be very embarrassed when he notices.
This
Do I
is
just
fine.
go to the place? No, it's just go to the place I came from.
You just came from there. You don't want to go back. Don't be
I
ridiculous.
can go to the library. The other one wasn't allowed to go to the library, I think.
Was she not?
Oh no, I remember seeing this weird looking dude really early.
The lump. He's just
This is
4
this is
polygons and a nose.
it's first you draw a circle. Then you dot the eyes. It's Sullivan.
It's. I understand they only had so many different polygons they could work with at the time, but it is not doing justice for larger characters. Let's.
Helen, you are not allowed to go to the police station to get some fresh air. Please go again.
Oh no.
It didn't make me do that.
Okay, good.
It's like meant to be just a big dude, but like they just didn't know how to.
They just didn't know how to make a big dude.
Didn't know how to make a big dude. Oh,
So
do I
they-
have to go to the police station? I refuse.
You might have to.
Oh, I need a breath of fresh air. Where should I go? Oh, the police station.
That's my first choice.
Hello, Sullivan. I feel like I was just here a minute ago.
Strange how these things work. Sullivan,
Do I
what are you
switch
doing?
character if I talk to Sullivan enough times?
I don't think so.
Okay. I'm going to go to the police
I think you gotta go to the police station. I'm sorry.
But why?
So we can go commit some light arson.
Does that say politia instead of police?
No, this is police.
I can't get police from this. There are too many letters. Poly is fine. And then there's a bunch of garbage after that.
It's just the police.
I'm the sheriff around these parts. The letter fell off the sign, and I've not bothered putting it back up.
Thank you, West of Loathing. I want to be the sheriff. I forgot about the square shadows.
Oh
The
yeah,
boxy
the little
shadows!
box man. I liked
Oh,
that
look
last
at how
time, but I don't think I ever mentioned it at all. You guys just acknowledged it quietly, and then
it's so good. I love
they
it.
should have this in modern games.
Yeah, they should. I demand box shadows. I want a hyper-realistic game like Horizon Zero Dawn, but instead of actual shadows, it's just boxes. It's just squares.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Helen, you just said go. Okay, we're at the back. We got it.
Eventually she'll go somewhere that's not lame. Danny, what do you want?
You replaced my hard drive.
I'll replace your hard drive.
Please don't.
Say goodbye to all your precious data.
It has all my meme pictures on it. It has the voice pack I made of a bad battle rapper for XCOM 2 on it. Didn't even pick a good battle rapper. It was the creaming fajitas guy.
Perfect! Gotta cream those fajitas. Also, who is this lady sleeping in here? Who is this?
That's bad lady.
My bed lady. She gonna be like, I better not bother her. Oh.
Oh, is she the lady you were dead in the loo last time?
Oh, maybe.
Possibly. Bunk beds. Oh, napping. I could nap in this bed.
I've only ever seen one building have a nap room, and it was the donation network building that I used to visit sometimes when I was working at the iBank. And they didn't have anything fancy like beds, but they did have like pull-out futons. There were like 3 of them crammed into this one room. It's very good.
Oh, the little picture.
These aren't students though. These are the teachers.
That's doing crime stuff. The crime
teachers.
lookers. Crime lookers.
Crime lookers. Ah, yes, my favorite department. Crime looking.
How do Helen, I know the door can be locked from the inside, but is it currently locked? Because I want to leave.
No, you gotta stay. You live here now.
Or
Oh, that run. Rose, we're trapped in here. If it comes to it, we have to figure out who of us is going to be sacrificed as food.
Oh my god, can you fucking use the door? How am I locked in this tiny room?
What haven't we
There's
looked at
nothing
3
to
times?
do. Do I need to read the whole comic?
Oh no.
Terry Zip. I thought you said there were. Wow.
It's fine, I'm sure.
I've already read all of the books.
Yeah, but have you considered reading it again?
See, this is a difference between the characters because the other character was like, I see this book, I cannot book. Oh, do I nap? Do I? Is it nap time?
It's nap time. Good night, everyone. Stream's over. It's nap time.
Okay, we have to get the light switch to function, which it's not doing when I click on it. I assumed that was the light switch.
I mean, that looks like a light switch.
Do
Also,
I
welcome
click-
in, Purple Nadra. How's it
I
going?
clicking the door doesn't do it. I
Can
can't
you
click
click
the actual light.
Can
so
you?
this is the first puzzle of the game.
How does one turn off a light?
How does?
How do lights?
Oh, it let me click it for some reason.
Hey! I don't know what you did different there, but at least you can click it.
Solve the riddle of the light switch.
No, I think you got it. Thank you, though.
We're just gonna blunder through
and
and see where we end up.
We've got stuff pulled up if we need it. We got it. Thank you. At least they're knocking. They're knocking a lot though. No one's home. Go
Is
away.
there a wake up button? Okay. I like when she stands up and puts her head through the ceiling every time she gets on or up the ladder.
It's very good.
Oh no.
He dead.
He can't be dead, he was knocking. No, you're right.
He was knocking with his head. Just constantly getting bashed into the wall. Do you remember how to do the QuickTime stuff?
I think it's or I could just run past them. Man?
Or you could just run past man.
Yeah.
Hi, Octopus Tea Party. This is a good one. Get him! Yeah! Yeah!
Love pranking Scissor Man.
You got him good.
Run to the
How's it
door
going?
and then stop and just calmly leave.
This is my favorite part of the game, where we just get to goof on Scissor Man a whole bunch.
Yeah. We just do shenanigans on Scissor Man. He's very persistent.
Yes.
Why did the covers were still there, but the lady were gone?
Yeah.
Now she's full gone.
Not famous for being squeaky.
Where did the man go?
He got up. He was taking a nap.
Fine. I told you he was fine.
See,
He was knocking.
Yeah, you right. I was a fool to think otherwise.
That's the man's lounge. Only Scissor Man's allowed in there.
It's very nice of the university to provide a Scissor Man only room.
Yeah. You never know when you're gonna have guests who are the Scissor Man. And I have a drink of water before I continue exploring.
No.
No.
Game doesn't want you to hydrate. I'm sorry.
Wanna hydrate?
Nah. Not allowed.
Scissor Man, are you hiding in the stall?
Very important to wash your hands. Everything seems normal.
It was me. I'm sorry. I told you Scissorman was in there. Don't listen to me, Helen.
I was compelled to open this. I don't know why. Oh. It's a good game.
Scissorman, are you under the desk?
Probably. He's
under
actually
one of them
in
in
the
there.
computer. Is this where he shows up and then the computers like light up with kill,
Oh,
kill,
yeah.
kill?
Use the internet. Google how to escape Scissorman. Go on WikiHow.
Find
Search
a
for
game
5
FAQ.
tips on how to escape Scissorman. Ooh, tools. What did I get? Pliers.
What
Nice.
do you get? We like pliers. Pliers are cool.
Kind of want to just leave the room, assuming that one of these 2 desks hides Scissorman.
Dude, just leave. Just go then.
We already got the pliers. We don't need to disturb Scissorman. He's napping under the desk.
He didn't realize that there was a whole room dedicated to him.
We should tell him about the Scissorman's lounge, but only after he wakes up.
Don't want to be rude.
Is that? Is this a thing?
No.
It's just a wall panel. It's decorative.
Stomp, 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 stomp.
Oh, is the lady dead again?
Possibly, probably.
Her face is caught in the mirror. Pale and
What-
drawn her face.
I like to think that Helen is narrating this to herself.
Yeah.
Oh no, the zoom!
All of the chunks have come out again.
Yeah. Well, I
Oh,
guess
geez.
this is the first time for her chunks to come out.
She died last time, did she? I thought she were in the bathroom dead last time also.
I thought we were talking about Helen chunking.
Oh, okay.
Because her chunks did come out. But also
Yes.
Rose's chunks came out too. We were it wasn't clear which chunks
There's
we were
2
talking
ways
about.
to make chunks come out.
Also, I'm gonna run downstairs real quick because I just got a package delivered and I need to get it before it gets nabbed. So I will be
jeez.
right back.
Okay. Ben, do you have anything I can steal? Sylvie!
Sylvie
Kayshurr's
Stop is
just
raiding
gone
with a
to get
party of
package
5.
that's just
Kaysh and
me
the
for
gang
right
welcome
now.
you.
Hi, Raiders. Hi, gang. Playing some Clock Town. Probably not anything Tell game relatedly, just lots of people don't ever get anything Tell game related. Oh no. Hey, we're riding the PP Packer now. I don't know why you're living in the past, Trent. Scissorman has only been lightly dunked so far. We're getting on that. We only got him once. There is a spray can of mace. It is the irritating smell mace as opposed to regular mace, which smells delightful. And it's very fun to be doused in. Where was Office? Have we seen Office? Aris, do you have anything I can steal? Wait, do I need to search Batten's desk twice? I can't remember. I can't remember if he has a secret key. Let me just waddle over there. Batten's desk. Still Batten's desk. Okay, no. False alarm. Scissor Man cut the line. How could he? Almost as if he had some large cutting implement he could use to disrupt phone cables. Don't go out, please, actually? No, you know, it's fine. Never mind. I'll just go back in. Hey, I did hear the music come on this time, which is good. We could just scoot over there dead quick.
Did we do any more good goofs?
Scissorman's here. We're about to
Also, Sylvie! Thank you for the raid!
Sorry, Sylvie raided.
No,
Like the second you left the room.
Of course! I had to go run and grab a package, so I'm sorry. Also, Linux Complex, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it.
I've just been blundering around,
That happens.
looking at stuff. The scissors are gone. This is peculiar. We might even know who currently has the scissors. It might be Scissor Man. It's possible. Oh, info. Nice.
I was just about to ask Sylvie, how did your stream go? How was the Final Fantasy remake?
We hit him
Also-
with the bad smelling mess.
Also, welcome in, friends! Sorry, like I said, I had to run downstairs and get a package. I finally ordered myself a new wallet, because mine is falling apart. It is held together by, like, 3 threads right now. So it was important that I got a new one.
We finally got with the program and got a wallet with SpongeBob on there. Like a real adult.
No, I just got another black plain wallet so I can put my Battlestar patch on it again. Because apparently,
and I thought it was a cube.
Is it not a
I thought
cube?
it was a featureless cube.
That I'm pretty sure that is a featureless cube, actually.
Lady, go over there. Did I go in this room? I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm glad it was a good stream. I'm glad everyone had fun. Sylvie
no.
and friends, if y'all need to take a break, get up, stretch, step away from the computer for a little bit, do whatever you gotta do. It is important to me that you take care of your dang self. We will be here for a good long while. So if you want to come back and hang out with us, you are more than welcome to. But yeah, go get your food, Sylvie. Oh, sorry, hiccups. Go get your food. Go do your thing.
Go get food.
Is
Scissor
this
Man.
is the Skizzer Man?
Go get a fire extinguisher. Hang on a minute. Wait, can I bop him with the plant? No. Wait, can I bop him with the plant?
Please tell me yes. Please tell me yes. Please tell me yes. Oh my God!
It's not that. You're not that hidden.
Got him!
That's all I've got him. Gently brushed the plant against him and then dropped it on the floor.
Beautiful. But yeah, for anyone who's here, I think most of you know who I am. In case you don't, my name is Kayshurrr. You can call me Kaysh. I've got Fruity Spruce here playing some silly clock tower with me. It's great.
Fax machine rings. Who could be sending me a fax?
It's me.
What? I can't do anything.
Gotta wait for it to print out.
I want to whip the whole fax.
You gotta wait. But yeah, I mostly play horror games and stuff. And because of that, I offer content warnings for all the games. If you need it, !CW, so you pull it up. It's great. It's It's fine. It's fantastic. It's just a good fun time where we prank our good friend, the Scissor Man.
Yeah, we love Scissor Man here.
We do love Scissor Man.
Even if he is coming to get me.
I'm sure he's just trying to be nice and say hello or something. I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah. It's our friend, the Scissor Man.
Scissor Man.
Red flashlight.
Nice. That might be useful.
I am Gab. Have I read the giant bright red folder, or is that not anything interesting?
Who knows?
The music went very spooky when the man said he was gonna come get me. Oh!
Yellow, police department.
Yellow!
There's been a murder. Come, quickly, please.
Please relax, ma'am. Did you see the murderer?
Yeah, it was the Scissor Man.
He's the one with the giant scissors. Scissor Man.
Yeah,
Let him
it's
have
the
it
Scissor
broken.
Man. You know Scissor
This is
Man.
a prank phone call.
Wait.
No. We don't make prank phone calls. We just prank Scissor Man.
Horrible.
Fucking cops.
Fucking cops. Hey, the Scissor Man's at it again.
Horrible.
They have one job. It's to come hit the Scissor Man with a broom when he's at it again. Just shoo him off the porch.
Can't trust a cop to do a professor's job.
Yeah.
Teenage girl's job, even.
Ain't gone all the way down yet, have I? I like how he just runs away and then, like, helpfully gets out of the way for you. So even if he runs into a room that you kind of wanted to go in, he just won't be there when you arrive. It's nice of him.
Look, he might be a murderer, but he's not inconsiderate.
The store is turbo locked. No one could unlock this.
You're turbo locked.
Sora, the Keyblade Master, could not unlock this door. Isn't the man in here? He's behind this, isn't it?
I think so.
Do we have to go here, though?
Think so.
Can we ride the bicycle out of the way of Scissor Man?
I don't
Oh,
think
that's
so.
for computers. Do I have the key for that door? Everything seems normal.
No problems here.
I think when I check the story appears from here. Oh. We can pliers the door open.
Yeah?
Or if I could do something to this door to make it open. Let me have a
Only.
quick look around before we leave. Just in
So-
case there's another item in, like, the next room over. I'd feel very silly. Scissor Man, if you're in this locker, I'm gonna be so mad. You know what? You won't even believe it. Fucking Scissor Man. Had it up to here with him.
Up to where?
Had it up to here. You gotta gauge from the sound of my voice how high I've had it.
I can
Right
imagine.
in here. Why did I not go to somewhere where I knew there was an item I could use on Scissor Man? Give him the chair! No. Oh, we can give him the chair.
Can you... Oh, please.
And Helen takes the folding chair from under the ring. What's she doing with that? Are you kidding? Oh my god! Are you joking?
This is a
an issue.
problem. I think we made a mistake!
Oh no, poor Scissor Man. I kicked him in the balls. That works too. I don't know how to make her run. She just seems to do it for like 0.3 of a second and then stop.
Yeah. Oh!
Can I not use this? No, because Scissorman's in the room, innit? You're not allowed if he's looking. You won't be fooled.
He'll know
Could
what
I
you're plotting then.
trigger this Scissorman to move him out of the way? Okay, you know what?
Unlikely.
We tried. We kind of tried. Let's leave.
It
Bad
works!
There's a Scissor Man here. Oh my god. Can we use the flashlight to unlock the door? Is there a secret key in this flashlight? Scissorman's here again, and I've got a flashlight in my hand, and I can't remember how to put it down. Where are you going, Scissorman? Go, out the door.
Away. Better get
I might
that.
be clicking too much.
Better get that fire extinguisher.
I think she's getting it. There we go.
Perfect. Ready to do it.
There we go.
Look, it's real hard to see past the giant scissors.
They are kind of in the way.
It blocks a lot of. Oh!
Scissorman! You motherfucker! I didn't choose to run in there either. I had to. Get in the locker, Helen.
I love this stupid game.
I love Scissor Man.
Did he get his? You fool!
Still going! Scissor Man, go away! No one likes you here. What? Scissor Man! You were on the other side, Scissor Man!
It's okay, you'll just kick him in the nards again.
Okay, at least we get to kick him in the nuts. Let's just go in here. It's occupied, Scissor Man. You're not allowed.
Perfect.
We just wait for the music to stop. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very worried it's not fine.
It seems fine. It's the only skill he has.
You can be a wizard and also be really dumb.
It's true.
Yeah, I'm on low health though now. Oh right, I'm already on the bottom floor. I
That's
know
just your
where I am.
That's just your stamina. It'll come back eventually, I think.
Yeah, it's on red, which is probably a sign that I'm doing very well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Red
Obviously.
means you're winning. This is where I failed to throw a chair at the Scissor Man. Oh.
I like that not all the goofs work. It kind of makes me happy. Someone needs to mod the game to make the Scissor Man just an angry crab.
Basically an angry crab. Oh?
What have you done?
Oh. Nice. Just gotta stay alive until security gets here.
Just hide in the bathroom the whole time.
Yeah, good idea.
No one can get
Yep.
you then.
I have a few keys, but I can't remember where any of them go. Oh,
Oh.
all stuck. All in, no way out. Guess I die. Storage is on the second floor?
I have no idea.
Nope, me neither.
Alright, perfect.
Oh, looks the dang same.
Honestly, though.
Thought it was here somewhere. Is this it? There's a beaker. This is where the
that's-
things go.
That's toilet?
Okay, no. That means toilet?
Yeah, I think it's like a little lady symbol.
It's not lady symbol. The beaker?
Yeah, the universal symbol for women. Beakers.
What are the ladies doing with beakers? In the toilet?
Science. Lady science.
Secret lady science.
This
Has
is
to be
why
stopped.
This is why women tend to go to the bathroom in groups. It's because we have to make sure that somebody else is there to witness our experiments.
You need someone to write to peer review your experiments.
And it's just easier if they're there to like see it all as it goes on.
Okay, so I thought I knew that a thing was in a place, but I am bad at knowing things and should just basically assume that everything I think is wrong. I haven't been all the way upstairs, but I thought there was nothing there but the ladder.
Isn't there like a... Oh no, I think I'm thinking of the ladder.
It's a ladder.
Can't you
There is a
use the
door.
ladder though?
I could as the other lady, but I don't think she can, because I've been getting stuff for the other exit downstairs.
Okay. I see.
I think that's a specific...
Oh, I see. Oh.
Alan, this is not useful information right now.
Now, Helen? You wanna talk about this now?
Here, we'll check here dead quick. Scissorman won't even know we're here. And then we'll abscond. I don't know why we're absconding. I just wanted to say abscond.
I can respect that. Helen, what are we doing?
Ah, the
Helen.
men's lounge.
Can't go in there.
The scissor men's lounge. Okay, we've now tried every exit. They're all stuck. Can't see what... Oh wait, I have storage key, and that's all. And I have now got it stuck in my hand and can't put it down. There we go. Is that just to the door downstairs?
Maybe?
It's like in a storage room, right?
Yeah?
Maybe there's the key to the ladder in there.
Maybe?
And that's how Helen gets out. It's possible.
Welcome back, Orchid! I told you we were gonna play more.
Giving it a go.
Doing a Helen's route now.
Yeah. Doing different pranks, some of which are very ineffective. Ah, that's the wrong door. It's this one. I know, Helen. It's real locked. I too am impressed by how locked the door is.
Did we ever get an office key?
I think I'm not sure if it's gonna accept this. Is this storage?
I think this is storage.
Yeah, it looks like storage. I don't know why I didn't immediately think, oh, hey, this is storage. The room with all the boxes.
The room with all the boxes and the things that you store.
I was like, I don't want to go to storage. I want to go to my car. I want to leave.
You did it!
The doors. The thing about doors is, technically they go to two places. Because depending on which side you're on, if you go through, you'll be in a different place.
It's true. It's true. Good job. You did it.
We've learned about doors today.
Door knowledge has been acquired.
I feel
Good
like this
job.
game.
You do?
Yeah, it's very silly and very like camp and just everything works.
I like it. I'm glad you like it too. It's just very goofy, and I'm super here for that.
I did send the statue to Rick's house.
Yeah.
Rick had to see the purple mound. I meant to do it last time. It was just like, do you want something Harris? Of course not. Get out of here, Harris. And I didn't really read it.
So yeah, like our general plan for this one is to bumble around like we did last time and kind of get whatever ending that we get, but also like explore some of the different options.
Gonna do the same thing, but wearing a different shirt.
Just being a Wallace and Gromit Helen instead. Gotta check out some of the different options.
I hate Guts a lot. Yeah, I hate Guts.
Guts kind of dumb. Can't say we're a fan.
He didn't look human, almost as if he was a large ant.
Almost
or
like
several large ants, or several normal size ants, but like loads, like
Or
more than several.
Several little tiny ants dressed as regular ants, dressed up as a big ant.
It's just
Just
a bunch
ants.
of tiny ants in a trench coat,
All the
disguised
way-
as a regular ant, but then times 1,000 in a trench coat. Been to library. I'm just gonna click all the places in order.
That's fine, this works.
Sometimes it works. There were a fire extinguisher in the police station, and it makes me think there's a way to get an action scene in the police station.
Oh no.
That means
Maybe
the cops probably get Scissorman.
that's true.
So
That's
that's
pretty
fun.
great. Or maybe the game was just like, we take safety incredibly seriously. Every location has to have a fire extinguisher, because what if a fire happens?
It's true. You do need those.
You
but...
do. Also, hi Nim.
I know.
But
Hey,
also,
you here?
I would love to see the cops get scissor-manded.
Just want guts
Man
to get
by
just
scissors.
a touch snip.
I mean, we did see him get stuck in that, what was it?
Oh yeah, that was very
The
good.
spike trap or whatever.
But he was kind of covering up the switch
He
when he did.
It's okay, we know that the switch is there now.
Yeah, we do. So you can just appreciate the artistry.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I just went to the library. Oh, do I have to go to the library again?
I'm scared about the library.
It's fine.
What if we get scissor-manned again? Are you yawning?
There might have been a small yawn.
Is that a yawn I heard?
Is there any news, though? I didn't hear a yawn.
No yawns.
The Politiet.
Perfect. Magnificent.
Look, what do you
I
use
do
this
see-
for other than blasting Scissorman? Nothing. There's no other use for a fire extinguisher.
I guess the only
Don't even
option
know why
is
they
to
call it
blast Scissor Man.
Helen Sullivan
They
is
should-
not there. You're here to see Edward. Remember a minute ago when we were like,
They should change the name of a fire extinguisher to Scissor Blaster.
yeah, it's just a scissor blaster. Okay, fine. I guess we don't go there. Is Rick's house anywhere?
No, I thought Rick's house was like on the top
right.
left.
Just go back to the house. Can we just go back where Scissorman was? I remember.
I'm sure he's cleared out by now.
Yeah. He's not gonna stick around. He's got places to be.
But can we use the room now?
We watch the room now.
You're tearing me apart, Scissorman!
I thought that would go.
I considered not doing it, and then I was like, no, I gotta. No, I gotta.
Yeah,
You can't. One does not simply mention the room and not quote one of the many quotable sections of that horrible movie.
when you think about the room, always remember that the guy who just walks around with a gun and goes, "Where's my fucking money, Danny?" was method acting on set the whole time. He's
Horrible.
just being a really angry boy who wanted his money the whole time.
What a
And the other
champ.
cast was scared of them.
Understandable. Noted cool guy. Oh, Harris. I'm sure he's fine.
We're not allowed to talk to Harris because that makes you play as the other lady. You just turn into the other lady if you ever talk to them.
If you... There's just a horrible scene of Helen morphing into Jennifer. Terrible.
Okay, I've been ordered to go to the library, even though I just went there twice.
You just have to keep going back there. It's important that you keep going back there.
Oh, that were a crap one.
Grip it and rip it, though.
Did it come over good?
A
Because it
little
sounded like
bit.
a farted can to me.
It was a farted can, but I know
farted
that sound.
can.
I know what that sound is.
I'd surprise you with a grip it and rip it, but it was just a farted can.
Just a farted can.
I am dour gun. That's all like. Okay, we're not allowed to go to the place we were just ordered to go.
Hey, go to this place, but actually don't.
Yeah.
Ah, jokes.
Oh, don't do the same thing again.
Oh no.
I'm stuck in a loop. Edward's not there. Cool.
Edward, where have you gone? Edward! Edward!
Ah, well, that's got about Rick. That makes sense.
Edward.
And then there'll be an action scene where we have to blast Scissorman with this Scissorman blaster.
Edward's gone to the Good Boy store. Is that where he gets all of his shirts with holes in them?
Is that where he gets his knives to murder me with?
You know who my favorite scissor man is? Reggie. Reggie's a scissor man.
Jeez. Pretty good Scissorman.
Right, we couldn't forget the beaten rocks.
Hey, shout out to a friend of the show, Arcade Ken and Games.
They're so good.
We have a friend who makes games and she does art and the art's very good.
Yeah. Yeah,
She made
she just...
Cemetery Mary, and you can encounter a man with scissors, and
It's
it's
fine. And he's perfect, and
he has very nice hair.
I would let him murder me. In a heartbeat. It'd be fine. I would be honored. But also, yeah, Arcade Kitten, very good. We love her. Here for Sweethearts is a year old now. She just, like, did her director's playthrough of that the other day.
It's a very uncommon name. We did just send Harris out to find someone called Rick and give them...
A man named Rick. I need a man named Rick to look at this mound.
I was reading chat and I skipped on the text, and I don't know what I'm asking Gots. I don't like Gots though, so...
So, no, I can look and... Oh, never mind, you've decided.
No! Okay, so I've missed the purple.
No!
By going to the wrong place. That's fine.
Can you reload? Reload the section. We need to reload so we can go see Rick.
Could try, I'm scared too.
Well, the game saved, didn't it?
Might have just then. Wait, hang on. Drop a save state just in case.
I like that I can see that you're resetting the way that the way that Discord is trying to capture this is very funny.
Oh jeez, sorry.
No, it's fine.
You might be able to.
Because it should have saved just at the start of the intermission.
Yeah, it should. But then we have to go to all the places again.
Yeah, but the question is, are you willing to do it for Rick?
You do want to meet Rick?
I was very worried that it wasn't gonna have any data. I was a touch concerned.
We got this. Hey, it's Gots, my favorite guy who I hate. Don't say no to him. It's Scissorman Gots. I don't like Gots.
That sucks.
I start reading what he's saying. It's like, hey, Teach, you hallucinating more Scissorman over there?
Just like every cop ever. Bad.
Not a Gots fan.
No. No, not at all.
Why does all of the characters, all of the big lads, is this stomach? Do they know that this isn't what?
Maybe they just have really large rib cages.
Maybe he just has boobs.
Could have boobs.
It's possible.
Except the ladies' boobs are lower. They're
so
kind of where boobs should be. Maybe he's got like a really intense push-up bra on.
It's just straight up.
Look, he has to get some support somehow.
Oh, jeez. Even worse for the orb man with just the circle with tiny legs.
I love Orb Man.
Okay, so we want to go here because Edward's here.
But he's not.
No, we go here and we look for Edward, but he's not here.
Yeah,
we go
and then...
here to. This is fine. I think I can navigate this scene.
You got this.
We have to talk to this lady.
You got this.
We do gotta meet Rick.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You have to remember to say yes to Gots.
Even though you will want to say no to Gots just because it's Gots.
This is how they get ya. They're trying to dissuade you from going to Rick because they know that we just have a visceral reaction to Gots and just do not want to interact with him at all, ever. Of course we would say no to Gots.
I love how it's like, it's been an hour. The player might have forgotten who they gave the statue to. And I love how I still managed to get it wrong, even though that is the level of of puzzle involved.
Yeah, but, you know, it's fine.
So they're gonna take it to the library, or just run out into the street and start yelling, "Rick! I need a Rick!"
Is there a Rick in the house?
I need any Rick!
My name is Richard. No! Only Rick!
Now we can ask Gots about Rick.
Okay, you have to say yes. You have to say yes to Gots. I thought it was just gonna go into a scene. I didn't realize you had to click, and I was like, "Wow, this is a this is an awkward silence."
I always forget, and they just end up staring at each other, motionless.
Gotta say yes. Gotta say yes. Also, stars! Thank you for the contribution to the tattoo stream.
Constantly tell me I've got to say yes, because I will instantly forget the second you're not telling me.
Gotta say yes. Gotta say yes. We hate
Like I
Gots,
forgot
but
about
you gotta
the
say
community
yes.
challenge.
You gotta say yes. You gotta say yes. We hate Gots, but you gotta say yes.
Does the purple mound give Scissorman his power?
Quite
It's
potentially, yes. Octopus, thank you for the contribution as well, and I guess thanks to you too, Fruity. I suppose.
Jeez, those are good points. There's nothing wrong with my bubble.
Thank you as well. Gotta say yes!
Gots is
to
gonna go to Rick
yes.
and get the statue. I understand. He's
Gots.
gonna find the man. Wait, am I not gonna get to meet Rick?
Gots, yes! Say yes! You gots, yes!
I said yes.
Good job. Can I stop singing my bad song now?
Sure. If you want.
I
It's
do.
your stream.
I do want to stop singing the bad song. Wait, or do we get to...
We do not stand Gots.
Tripped on a wet floor and landed in a police station.
This is plausible.
I mean, of all the cops out there, he doesn't seem like the worst. But is that a dog? Is that a fucking dog? Are we gonna pet the dog? Can we go pet the dog? Look,
Motionless
dog,
dog
dog.
staring. It might be taxidermized.
dog, dog, dog,
There is a dog.
dog. Sorry, I don't remember what I was saying at all before this because I just saw dog. Sylvie, thank you for the contribution. Is what I'm trying to say.
It's part of the Scissorman expanded universe. It's Scissorhound. Also, it's now further away and still just as spooky.
I love Scissor Dog. Scissor Hound. It's a good dog. I'd give that dog a pair of scissors. I just bashed my knee into my desk. I got so excited.
Jeez.
This is fine. Everything is fine. Dang! Maybe I have to get a Scissorman tattoo now.
Not a bad tattoo. It's kind of a cool tattoo.
I would genuinely consider it if we play some of the other Clock
need to
Tower
get-
games.
A bee who's real dumb.
Yeah, yeah.
Just an idiot bee.
No, okay. So I need to get an idiot bee tattoo. That's in the
high on the
works.
list of priorities.
But I wouldn't be opposed to a Scissor Man tattoo.
I just want to see if the dog moves. I think he moved his head. Dog's fine. Dog's not a statue.
Also, the voice acting for this old man. He's gonna get stabbed. Oh,
my
God!
god! It's Scissorman. It's Scissorhound.
Dog, please!
Still kind of want to pet the dog. Oh my
I
god.
thought he shot and nothing came out. It was
Me
him.
too.
He was. Oh no!
This guy.
Open the door. Let the dog maul him.
Should have done.
It's okay.
Didn't let me, but also.
But also consider for the future.
What can I hit Scissorman with?
That's a
Is
door.
there anything?
Oh!
It's fine. Well, I can't hit him with anything now, but it's fine because look, we can loop him around the table.
It's just like Dead by Daylight. Ah!
I failed to loop him around the table. I went too fast. Oh my god! Scissorman is fucking dead. Why are we running? Why are we running away from Scissorman? Hey, Guts is growing up.
I think Gots is alright, actually.
We're gonna get him with an umbrella.
Do it.
We're not
Do
even
it.
gonna run. We're just gonna walk over there because I did it wrong. Where are you, Scissorman?
Weird.
It's Scissorman's fifth. What? But I have an umbrella. I thought I was. Oh my god! He wanted me to click until it was too late. Umbrella
weakest weapon in the entire game.
is once again the weakest weapon in the entire game.
Just like Siren. Hey, so I've been thinking about Siren.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't want to play it again. But I kind of want to play it again.
So it gets you.
I think the Siren madness cannot be cured. Mound! You can't pick it up, but that is the mound.
I'm gonna need to punch Scissorman in the jaw again, I think. As I
Sock him.
cannot find anything to use on him.
Oh?
Okay, well, you're in the way, Scissorman.
Punch that boy!
Maybe we should just go back to the umbrella. Where are we going, Guts? He falls over and just lies still.
He is making He was making silly little noises, just going, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Don't know what hit him, the poor lad.
Yeah.
You're gonna stab the thing and I'm gonna have to run out of the room and... Okay, no, we're fine.
I do love that he just, like, clips the scissors menacingly at all times. There is never a moment where he's not just going, snip, snip, snip.
Yeah, it's because he's the Scissor Man. He needs everyone to know. No, Guts! Guts, did you just fucking leave? Okay, no. We're fine. We can still get the purple thing. I just accidentally walked out of the entire scene.
Right though? Like, boy is announcing his presence, which I get, he's trying to be dramatic, but also everyone knows that he's there then. My god.
He's about
My
the
God!
pageantry more than he's about the actually doing murders.
That's fair.
He's a showman. Okay. Here is the mound.
He's just carrying a sound system with him to make sure he has his own orchestra. What the bleh is this? I like that it does the Final Fantasy thing. Bleeds
It just
itself out.
picks the mound up and it's just like, what the fuck? Why am I watching TV? I clicked it thinking like, is Scissorman somehow gonna like burst out the TV?
He's
I
gonna
have
pull
to
a
see it, so-
poltergeist. Hey, this game is kind of fantastic.
Yeah.
I kind of like how goofy this is.
Does this lead to the same balcony? Okay.
But that
Good to
means
know.
you can get between the rooms.
Oh, that one's locked. It means we can always get away from him, which is handy.
Yeah. I really
one of those things where it's like not really an alternative. Are you just really into the stuff that Clock Tower's doing? Like, it's the only game in town. Well, you gonna play Nightcry? Please don't.
Please don't play Nightcry.
You don't want that.
Oh no. Is it leave? Is the one thing we have to do on this level leave?
We found the weird mound.
We did get mound,
Do
so
we have
that's
to
exciting.
karate kick the dog or something?
Oh no. I mean, if dog is Scissor Man. Is Scissor Man is dog,
Are
is
you
Scissor
really
Man.
gonna walk out there?
You're gonna get mauled. You're gonna get
Yeah.
fucking mauled.
Yeah, he is. What are you doing, Gots? Remember? The dog's bad. The dog is not our friend. Oh no. Okay, well, the dog's calmed down a bit.
There's a row of coffee cups.
I'll log
Great.
that away. If we ever need coffee, we know where to get. I didn't know there was a door over here.
Well, now you know.
Gots, what are you
That's
talking about, bud?
What are
Okay,
you doing,
that's fine.
Dots? I guess I could,
just-
like, look to see what it is that
Just
we have to
punches Scissor Man in the head and then just stomps around the house, just complaining about all the decor. It's just a day in the life of Inspector Gods.
Oh.
Is it something I'll
I
possibly
see.
work out? You're gonna let me suffer a bit more before we...
I will give you a hint whenever you are ready for one.
Okay. He's in the bath, right? He's got to be. He's not in the toilet.
He's washing him and his clothes.
There's always a monster in the bath in all of these games. I wasn't even
true.
joking.
It's true, though.
He's got to be hiding in the bath. Okay, we can't go there. Something's in the bath. Maybe it's just the Tsuchinoko.
Short, fat snake. I love the
Short,
Tsuchinoko.
fat liar snake who's drunk.
The boozy, short, fat liar snake. My favorite
I'm not
cryptid.
even drunk, and you're like, go home, Tsuchinoko.
Go home, Tsuchinoko, you're drunk!
Roll away, buddy.
I love the Tsuchinoko.
A machine filled with water. We have powder soap. We could clean the Scissor Man?
We do have the powder soap?
Yeah, we do.
Good. Okay.
We have plank of wood. Okay, we know where plank of wood is. The mop handle, rather. we know of mop handle.
We
I
are
want to be
familiar
Scissor
with...
Man. He comes in. Oh, you know about this mop handle? It's just so mad at all the furniture. He like doesn't give a shit about Scissorman. He's just like, this place is a fucking dump.
Why would he give a shit about
Oh,
Scissorman when he can
no.
just sock him in the face?
Gods, take a can of salmon. What if you're hungry later? Is this Windows? Probably Windows. I think there's one more place I need to look before. I have to admit that I'm totally lost and clueless. I think I went in this room and there was just nothing here, right?
I think so. Hold on.
Well, I mean, there was nothing I could use as a weapon, and I was being chased by Scissorman, and I tried to loop him around the table, and it was a disaster.
You went a little too fast.
But then I just sucked him in the jaw, and he
And it
died.
was fine.
Another hit? Another hit. You under that, Scissorman? Tablecloth is covering the table. Can we yeet the tablecloth off of the table without disturbing things on top? I'll look in the trash. Is Scissorman in one of these cupboards?
Aww.
But I want it. Which cooking utensil is it, gods? There's several. Yeah, there is a clean sink. We're very impressed.
Woof.
There is some garbage in the trash.
I mean,
That's
that's where the garbage goes.
There is some garbage in the garbage. Is there a Scissorman in the oven?
Whoa!
It's not a Scissorman in the oven. That's fine.
Would you like a hint?
Sure. I think it's about hint time.
Oh no.
Oh. Well, this is a problem. Stop it. Do anything. I'm just clicking every single inch of the screen. I don't know what's going on. Just do anything, please, Gots.
Table. Oh.
Table?
Oh, Gots has it now.
I just clicked every single pixel in the universe.
Well, that's a thing.
Yeah, Gots, we're not looking at the tablecloth, but that's not what we're doing here. No, I don't care about the tablecloth. Okay, that's fine. That did nothing.
The thing that you want is not in this room, but it is on a wall.
Mm.
I can tell you what it is if you want it, but...
A wall thing.
A wall thing.
Is it this?
We are attempting to find the location of the barrow.
Is it an intercom? Can I call Rick and ask if he's okay?
Oh, I didn't think that said who am I kidding? I just thought that said, who am I?
Can I call Scissorman and tell him to leave? Oh, that's the umbrella.
I think it's in the room that you were just in.
Oh, crap.
I think.
We'll head back. Okay, we'll start over here.
Maybe it's not in this room.
Oh,
The room-
now you're changing your story, okay.
Well, excuse me.
I've been in all the rooms.
A room with
have
a
a drink?
fireplace.
He's actually just having a drink.
Jesus. Wow! Wow!
He just does the Crash Bandicoot noise.
Wow!
Krugs, thanks so much.
But yeah, you want a room with a fireplace. Excuse?
Fucking Ezio Auditore over here, just trying to drop attack me. Unbelievable.
Ridiculous.
Can I get him with the powder soap? Kinda wanna. It said this could be useful for blinding someone when I picked it up. I was gonna leave that for potential, like, last good ending try.
Mm-hmm.
Can I hide in the bath? Which
He'll never know you're here.
he hates baths.
Just more
Oh,
proof
I
that the
see.
Scissor Man is a dog.
Hey, just that easy. Ah, I should have hit him with the pole. Okay, so we want to go upstairs to a room with a fireplace. No more tomfoolery.
Maybe a little more
Get this done.
tomfoolery. Maybe just a touch more tomfoolery.
No, not a single ounce more tomfoolery. I should have checked that room. I forgot it was there. It's fine, I can go through the... Scissorman is clearly in the chair. I don't want to talk to Scissorman.
Is he watching Tom and Jerry?
He's watching... Can we just leave? Do we need to bother Scissorman? Can we blind him with the powder soap?
Not the bad laughing.
He likes Tom and Jerry. He likes his cartoons. Don't worry about it. Yeah, there's a little tomfoolery going on. We tried our best to avoid it. Did I... Does he even... You could just see him. He was fully visible as soon as we came in the room.
This game is so goofy, and I love it.
Oh, I was ready to mash square then.
There's nothing evil about appreciating some good old cartoons.
Who do we know likes cartoons that much? Scissorman. Maximilian Pegasus. What do they have in common? Incorrigible villains.
I'm sorry, are you... Oh wait, okay. I was just like, holy shit, the scissors are the Millennium Scissors!
Oh no! Using the Millennium Eye to see where we're hiding.
Picture, it's a bit crooked.
Motherfucker.
What? That was a very good noise. Little bit
Oh.
of a...
Nice!
Hey! Now you can leave. Now you can
There's
just go.
castle coordinates written on the back.
Gotta get out of here.
No problem. We'll simply punch Scissorman in the face if he comes near us. Yeah, just... Where else would you write it? It's
Yeah,
that thing where when you take a photo, you're like right where it was and who's in it, but he wrote also like the latitude and longitude of the castle.
He likes to be incredibly precise about where his photos were taken.
The exact spot I took the photo from. Why did I go out this door? This is where the dog is. Can I pet the dog? I know the dog is hot, but can I pet the dog? You cannot pet
Oh
the dog.
my god! That
Gotta
is-
submit that one to Can We Pet the Dog?
No, you cannot. Dog
Maybe
can
it's
pet you though.
Bad boy.
So, yeah.
I am gonna blind the dog with powder soap. This is
Guts, what the fuck?
Who does that?
It's not even like the dog like was going after him. He's just like, fuck this dog.
Runs off into the forest, just chuckling
Oh
like
my
a ghoul.
God. Not the ghoul chuckles.
He's a
Also,
monster.
Do we want to take a short break here? I
Yeah.
gotta go to the bathroom.
Oh, holy Helen pondering if Guts was able to get the statue.
She's changed her outfit though.
Think anymore.
Wowie. All right, we'll do a short break. We'll have some words on stream up for everyone, and we'll be right back. Woo.
Yeah.
Hey! Oh, that's the wrong one! Oh, I went to the wrong screen! It's fine. It's
We're
fine.
back.
We're all back! We're back! Everything's back! I just hit the wrong game screen button. It's fine.
We're still wondering if Guts was able to get the statue. We've been really thinking it through.
Well, I'm just being incredibly considerate and contemplative. She's just really gotta know. All right.
Just going to
no.
the police station.
You ready to?
We know there's fire extinguishers there.
Are you ready to scissor blast the scissor man? I'm
gonna blast
sorry.
him. Getting blasted.
Perfect. Oh my goodness.
Police station? Are you okay? Okay.
Uh-oh. You wanna
Says a
know
man
what's
attacked
happening?
me and I punched him in the head and it was honestly brutal. Scissor Man was there and I attacked him.
Yeah, honestly.
And there was a dog who I threw salt in his eyes and ran away.
Giggling like a goblin into the forest.
Yeah.
It's a very important detail.
It scampered off.
Not the scampers.
That was a scamper. I saw
It
it.
was.
Why do they always say there is a castle in England called the Barrows Castle?
Ingle and England.
And everyone's like, don't tell me. The Barrows Castle is named after the Barrows family.
Meh. Gots was
Even
just
if
impressed.
it's just to show off. Yeah, I shot him in the head 6 times. He was fine. I punched him in the face and he crumpled. He was just out. Wonder if Horrible Child's around.
Edward?
Yeah.
Edward?
Wait. I shouldn't have talked to Edward, should I? Because then Edward will be there at the castle to stab me. It's fine.
Oh. Oh.
You should have not told baby. Hey, if you want to stab me, I'm going to be in England tomorrow, so you'll have to go there.
Yeah. This could be a problem.
It's fine.
Edward, you have a few new holes in your shirt. How did this happen? For sure not from being shot 6 times. Don't worry about it.
Edward is the only one we know isn't the Scissor Man because he stabbed us with a knife.
Maybe it was a tiny pair of scissors.
No.
Alright. Can't argue with that, I guess. Just... so matter of fact about it. No.
He's the only person we know who's murdered us without scissors. Except for the dog. The dog is also not Scissor Man.
But dog is related to Scissor Man. Dog is
Yeah,
friend of
Scissor
Scissor
Hound,
Man.
a knife boy.
Scissor Hound and Knife Boy.
Yeah. Allies and co-conspirators of Scissor Man, but not Scissor Man.
Octopus has a good point. Maybe the scissors just look big because a kid was holding them. Maybe it's all about perspective, actually.
Maybe Scissor Man's actually much closer to the camera than you think the whole game.
Not Cool Guy Harris.
Can't do that. Where have we not been? Do we have to go to No Ian? We have to go to
haven't
No Ian.
we haven't seen No Ian in a hot minute.
Yeah?
No Ian.
I know Ian.
No Ian. Parrot No Ian. Are you following us?
You're the scissor man, No Ian.
What is his partner's name? Nick?
Tom?
Tim?
Tim?
Tim!
Tim!
Okay. I like Tim's nose.
Yeah.
I also like his pink shirt.
Just has a just straight triangle for a nose.
Yeah. Very good. He's also a big round lad.
Still can't do that.
Just a circle man.
Rick's probably not going to want to come because he was killed.
Yeah, but you should ask him anyway. It's rude not to. You can't just assume he doesn't want to come because he's dead.
You're right, I should have told him.
What the fuck, Fruity?
Yeah! Whole gang's coming.
Hey!
Criminy.
Timberly Spimbers. I like it. It was a good name. It's a good, strong name.
Watch out, Scissor Man.
Scissorman, you're gonna get ganged up on.
We know your one weakness, it's being punched in the face. I'm sure it's fine and safe and normal. None of these people can be Scissor Man because they'd never get those through Heathrow.
But what if they did? But consider
That
what if they did?
awesome did accidentally smuggle a knife through Heathrow Airport
You did mention this.
by
So
forgetting it was in his bag.
this is fine.
He had
This
a
is
knife
fine.
to cut like masking tape and stuff with. He did have a knife when he I just didn't find it.
And yet here I am not being able to get through security with piercings in. I wore a garter belt one time and forgot that I had it on because I was wearing stockings or something, and I got like I had to get pulled aside into like a different room, and I was like, "Excuse me." Yet here Sam is smuggling in an actual knife.
What's wrong?
Yeah.
Please. Everyone's waiting.
Voice
Oh, yes.
This is fine and normal, right?
What?
Oh,
One of
Must
those
be in
earthquakes
California.
we have in England a lot.
What happened?
Now we know how the floor broke in that room.
This does make more sense now.
That's why there's just a whole room.
I understand.
Get exploring. Let's get stomping.
It's stomping time!
Nothing. Okay. Noted. Oh, he's coming down the chimney like Santa Claus. He's not Santa Claus.
Here comes Scissor Man, here comes Scissor Man, right down Scissor Man Lane.
It's fine, I think the kitchen's over here.
It's frying time!
Was it this one or the next?
I think
Is
it's
the
the next one.
garden? Ah, horrible. It's
Or
fine,
wait,
you
no,
can-
I thought the big one was the garden.
This is just the pit. It's fine, because I like it when he falls in the hole. Scissorman, did you just moo? Oh, Scissorman. Can't catch a break.
I hope Timberly Spimbers is fine.
Hey, there's a drain there. Weird.
We're just too busy looking at the
How wild is
diseased
that?
leaves.
Time we got to go over the 12, yeah. Let's check the rest of this area, and then we'll go through the garden to the other area.
Perfect. Sorry, why
Should
did
we go see what the room Tim was in?
I mean that's your call. I am just thinking about the name Timberly Spimbers, and like
Yeah.
that definitely sounds like the name of Kimberly's partner. Kimmerold, not Kimberly. What am I saying? Thinking about Timberly.
Kimrold and Timberley.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I looking in stew pots? What am I doing? Oh, the rapper probably got crutches. Good point.
E?
Hmm.
Oh.
Just my nice friend.
It's Cool Guy Harris.
Don't scare me like that.
Very, very
What's
small.
up? Did you find anything?
No.
Oh well, it's a good-looking place anyway, quite relaxing.
What a relaxing place.
Scissorman is lurking around here somewhere.
Also, they're so quiet, but everything else is so loud.
It's just a hunch, but I don't
Yeah,
think he's
volume
after me.
mixing is
Because
suspect.
He is after you.
Harris.
Oh, I found this key a while
Thanks,
ago.
Harris.
What? What the
I always just
fuck?
pick Harris.
Which door it opens.
I don't think he's coming after me. He's coming after you.
Way to kill Scissorman.
Well, here's this thing I found.
Kind of want to use Harris's key.
Do it.
Is it the big key holder?
Harris, where the fuck did you go?
He hid inside one of these cans.
He would. He is small enough.
Is there a thing here? Because I remember checking this like 40 times, so I can't remember if I actually found something eventually or not.
I think there's a button there.
Button might be later. Might need to do stuff before button.
Yeah. But I do think that there is a thing there. I think you are correct. What you crunch munchin'?
Sorry. Popcorn. Oh,
Not your cardboard and rocks.
I like my rocks and cardboard.
Horrible. Terrible.
Oh yeah, there's the weird hatch. That's
Yeah! Oh! Wait! If you found the hatch, then maybe you can use the button now.
I'm real dumb. Okay, let's go back.
Not that we not that we have to, but I think that's
Yeah.
the
Step 1, acknowledge the hatch. Oh hey, here's a hatch. Step 2.
I do like that it makes a different noise when you step on it. It's like
good touch.
super subtle. But that's cool. Good sound design. Love me some good sound design.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got very excited about all that.
That's why we love Siren.
Siren. How could you
Is
betray me with
anyone
bad
in the
gameplay?
wine barrel today?
Thought they were behind the shelf.
There was the lady we're playing as now was inside one of the barrels in
Right!
yeah, she wasn't
She was feeling a little poorly.
yeah.
Nah, sound design in this game has been very good up throughout this whole time. I appreciate it. Like, especially with like older games, it's not as easy to pull off really good sound design. But just because it was a little more limited in what they could do, right? But
Can't make Scissorman come out.
yeah, because it's Cool Guy Harris just sitting back there. Don't worry about it.
That makes sense. Okay, I can't open the wine barrel to find out who's inside it, so that's fine. So they're probably fine. Oh, there we go.
What was that sound?
Probably nothing.
I wouldn't worry about it.
Oh, Tim!
Timberly!
Oh, Ms. Maxwell?
How you doing, Tim?
Good?
Is everyone all right?
I don't know.
Are you fine?
I'm still looking for them.
I wonder if Nolan's still
Just
alive.
Tim's alright.
Well, then
Just
he turns
making
into
sure
the
he didn't
Scissor
have
Man.
anything else to say.
Ms. Waxwell,
Right.
I'm going to hide here for a while.
Good idea, Tim.
Tim, I need you to just be as careful as possible.
I need your butt to not sound fire, Timberlake.
No hot ass here, please.
Whose can is this? There is can here.
Yeah, there is.
You're gonna trip on the can and then get ambushed by Scissor Man? Is it another one of his pranks?
It's not Scissor Man, it's Scissor Can now!
Scissor Man's always pranking you by like bursting out through things you don't expect, or
It's true.
like hiding in the dark, and when you turn the light on, he jumps out, and then you counter prank him by bodying him with just
Absolutely destroying.
this starts to
physically
nowhere. Yeah, this is the
destroying
start to
him.
nowhere.
Well, now we
Yeah,
know.
Counter prank Scissor Man by shooting him in the face, or by spraying him with mace. You know, just classic pranks.
Classic pranks. Please.
How loud is the crunch? Sorry.
It wasn't that bad, and I only heard it the once.
I had some popcorn left over from film.
Nice.
Can we open this? Needs a key. We have a key. A nice friend gave us a key. That has to be for the door with the giant keyhole on it, and I'm very tempted.
I mean, do what you want to do.
There'll be an ending, and then we'll have to. Then we'll have to stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, just remember, we can always play more of this another time and look for other endings.
Can do.
It's all up to you, though. You're the one who's playing it.
Let's wiggle around a bit. Okay, this is the door there. I think this is the only way to get to.
I do appreciate that, like, completing this game doesn't take
I'm not
very
gonna
long.
open the drawer. The drawer is bad. I'll open this drawer.
Oh.
Never mind.
Okay. I did see that we
Could drop
get...
a stir.
My
Should we drop-
assumption is that Orchid knows the good time to do a good save.
Hmm.
We could
Well,
if we-
before we go in the trap door would probably be a good time, right?
that would be my assumption.
Before we are destroyed by Harris's trap. Okay.
Let's say if you're up for it, Orchid could probably let us know when that good save time would be. We can save and then
Probably
check
shouldn't
out the
look
other
in
endings.
In the fireplace, because it's bad in it. Wait, I have a torch.
Do you? You
Yeah.
do. Okay.
No,
A
Helen,
chimney
it
that
won't.
Santa might come down.
Yeah.
Well, this is the wrong chimney to look in. This is the not murder chimney.
Santa
think.
Claus, that guy who once a year comes down
Scissor
the
Santa.
chimney with a giant pair of scissors and decapitates all the children.
Don't you mean just the naughty children? No, no, no. Every child.
Yeah.
I know I keep
Helen,
saying
I think you have bigger problems.
it. Do love how goofy this game is. I am interested in checking out the other one.
The earlier one, the like
Yeah.
SNES one.
Yeah. Because I think the later clock towers get, like, real weird. Like, magical girl weird. Not in, like, a bad way, but it's just... It
I think,
feels bizarre.
I think he did that too, didn't it? The camera game. I forgot what it's called.
Fatal Frame?
Okay. Yeah, Fatal Frame did that, didn't it?
Yeah, at least from what I know of Fatal Frame, it makes a little more sense than, again, granted what I know of Clock Tower.
Okay.
Still a little weird, but you know.
Just any property that exists for long enough will get animes in it. It's nothing you can do. Scissorman, are you gonna jump out of that painting?
It's the big one, isn't it? Yeah.
The big one? Let's not look at the painting. I think he just
Also-
jumps out. I don't think we have to look at it. I think he just does it. Also,
Yeah, so the first one is Clock Tower, the First Sphere, and it came out for the Super Famicom, actually.
do we have...
And it was available on
Oh, we have
the-
a fireplace key. We should probably use that on the fireplace.
available on the SNES.
Fine, we unlock the gate. Wait, was that the key Harris gave us?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Fine,
Uh.
Santa can come down.
Uh-oh.
I unlocked it. It's unlocked. It's fine. Hang on.
Uh-oh.
Did you see the
Yes.
menu? Just go over to save state.
No, I don't think so.
I think
Okay.
I didn't quite get that message, but I think Archard said go in immediately.
Yeah, definitely. What? How did we get here?
Scissor
I-
Man. Right in the joke.
Universal weak spot. We know this.
We'll get rid of any scissor man who's hassling you.
It's true!
Oh no! Oh, we're gonna push books on him. I'll possibly just go behind the books and hide.
I would like for us to push the books on him.
Push the books on him. Come on, he was right there. Big books.
This is tragic. Also, you know it's gone funky when the clock tower expert is like, uh-oh. I'm sure it's fine.
Fine. Everything's fine.
It's all gonna be perfect, actually.
Oh,
uh-oh. That laugh.
What should I do?
We should shine the. Wait.
Can you
The weird
statue the man?
statue. Can I stop?
Oh shit! I like that he just poked her.
Jennifer. Oh, why?
This is an issue.
Could always reload.
She got poked.
She did get poked.
She's fine.
She's napping?
Yeah. Okay, there's a switch here.
Oh, okay.
Oh. So he's still good.
It's fine.
Just torture stuff. Oh, right, no, because we're not good because she died. I remember. I was there. She's dead now, I understand.
It's fine. It was just Jennifer.
Yeah, no need Jennifer.
At least it wasn't Edward.
No, I got a safe state. We can give more endings a go at some point. What do you mean? We don't need lady. How do I do anything? Where am I going?
Good question. I've stopped looking at the guide, so I don't know anything.
You stopped looking at the guide when I went rogue and started making bad decisions.
Yeah, I was really excited about all the bad choices that were happening.
I can't remember where was locked. When you get keys, half the time it just doesn't tell you about the key.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it tells you when you pick it up, but you have to remember. That's not my strong suit. Do I have the key for the path down here?
I think I see where we need to go.
No, got the key. Where do I go?
You need to go back to the chapel?
Oh, that's why Lady died. The last key we got did not help us at all.
Also, I see what you're supposed to do to save Jennifer. Kind of. I don't know where to get the item that they want you to have, but I understand.
Self him in the eye and then you scamper away.
Wait. Before you go to the chapel, have we been to the library?
I don't know where the library is. I was
Okay.
looking for it and I can't find it.
Okay, I also don't know where the library is, but that should be our next goal. That's a scissor man.
Very lost. Can you direct me to the library?
Scissor man, I have some questions about this castle.
Pot!
Frying
pot,
pan, frying
pot.
pan. Oh, or pot.
I want to put the pot on him. I want to just dunk the pot on his head.
It's just like Skyrim when you put the buckets over people's heads.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna take all his items. I'm gonna steal all his wares.
Yeah. Perfect.
Perfect. It's more beautiful than I could have imagined. It's the library itself that I kept finding. I think I have the library key, unless I don't. I don't know where anything is.
I do appreciate that things look a little different between each playthrough, though. Like, it actually makes it different.
I got the key from the mouse hole. I think I got one other key. Scissor man, I just saw you. I put the just can we leave, please, Helen? That's fine. Oh, that's the wrong room. Never mind, this is fine. Saw me come in and there's no other exits, but there's just infinite places I could have hidden. See? You have no idea.
Perfect.
Library. If I were a library, where would I go?
Second floor? This is literally me guessing. Don't actually listen to me.
Second floor, you say?
That is my best guess right now.
I thought it were like the first door in this side.
It might be.
And I can't remember if I've checked that. Or if I just stopped. No, there's nothing here. I have no idea where I'm going.
I'm kind of just glancing at a guide. I'm not really following it.
I feel like I've walked everywhere and touched everything, and no good has come of it.
Oh, we still need to.
Has Jennifer got anything in her pockets?
We gotta find Noean.
Where is Noean?
Noean is in a storeroom?
Well, last time we had to go through the window and the skeleton room, and
He's not there. I want a map of the castle. Please.
oh wait, I've been here. Were there anything in here? I can't remember. Oh. No, it's hint 10.
Oh,
That's
fair.
But
there should be things in here. Hold on a second.
Oh.
I remember seeing something about hint 10. Sorry. It's very hard with games like this where you can just wander around everywhere, and guides are like, do it in this specific order! Because it's like, well...
Yeah?
We've gone off and done a bunch of other things. So, excuse me while I look.
I had to get Jennifer killed dead quick, and
Yeah, it was super important.
Next time we'll try doing it actually right. That's the plan. We gotta start.
Okay, we need a key for the stuff that's here that we do not have.
I got the key from the mouse hole, and I don't know where to use it. So
Is it the-
if it says that anywhere, I don't know what key it was, and it's not in my inventory. It's
Oh,
just
well
one of
then-
those keys that she has in her pocket, but won't tell you about.
And maybe try and open some of the stuff that's around here. We should
What
be able to
stuff
open
was
like a.
locked?
There should be like a cosmetics box that you can
Where?
open. I think in the room that you were just in. I think.
I got that hint. Unless it wasn't a hint and you were just memeing. I remember why Santa Claus was. This one. Is it this room? I think it's this room. We have a... We gotta talk to Saint Nick about this.
These things, they just stick with you.
Is this? Ah. Probably nothing, but there's a thing. Oh no, are you kidding?
Perfect.
Santa, here's a key. Just a little thing in the background that I tried to click on and I couldn't find the spot. Oh my god, Scissorman, do you have no life?
He really doesn't.
You'll never find me in here again. Oh, he found me in there again.
Welp.
It's fine. Should probably leave though. We haven't yeeted him out the door to nowhere yet, right?
We have not.
Oh, that's not the door to nowhere though, is it?
I do like that he just like turned around and left.
We're just like, nah, fam, I'm not into that. I don't want to go in the Santa room again. Okay, we'll try and get in that room not being chess. I don't know where anything is. I'm so bad. Ah. Perfect. Found it. I was looking for the frying pan.
Wowie.
Where am I? Okay. We'll just hide keys in weird spots in the background. Now, let's see if I can find the room I just came from. Yeah, now we get this maze of. It's like 3 corridors and a bunch of doors, but it just all looks the same. Do we still have to battle the hand if we look in the drawer? So here we are. We're not being chased. It's nice here. His hand's still in drawer. Hand, are you in there?
Hand,
Fucking
please.
awful.
Hand, please. Just have to
You
click
have to
for
mash so
5 million
hard
years.
for so long for this fucking hand. Still going. Still going.
Just
Wait.
step on it.
I wanna, but she what?
Yeah.
This is the thing? Oh yeah, I can't be bothered anymore. Kill me, hand.
Rip.
Hand is indestructible, unstoppable.
That's the crab. We have found crab. Crab has been acquired.
Went over the desk a bit and I was clicking X and square when I did, but I didn't find the right pixel. I know I still like zoomed out and showed you more of the more of the desk, so that was probably where you clicked. It's joined from here. From the drain.
You do have to
I
beat
have
the hand?
to. Oh my
Terrible.
God, I hate the hand so much. Okay, well,
Yeah.
at least we know the boss fight with hand is required.
Just get it done. Go beat that hand.
I think it's a thing on the desk. Oh, no, that one. That one.
It's that thing like right in front of the books, right?
Ah, the weird, like, small black line.
Yeah. Hey!
I didn't see you. Are you dead, hand?
I feel like it's fairly easy to miss.
Yeah.
So that's okay.
I'm looking at all the other things on the desk, and it's still just kind of wiggled over there. Oh, we can exercise the devil children.
Perfect. Concealed in the fireplace.
Okay, well, there's several fireplaces, but we can try and exercise some devil children.
That's it. Oh, where are you
We
going,
know
Helen? we, we are familiar with at least one devil child. Possibly 2 if we're counting Harris as well.
Harris isn't a child.
Yeah, but
He's
he's
just
small
a regular
like one.
devil. He is very small. He's just a small man. Awful. Horrible. I'll look for the thing anyway. Just I don't know where I'm going. Pin everywhere. Wait, is that key the one for the corridor?
Possibly.
Santa is never going to come out of there. I'm sorry to tell you this, Alan. Come on, key. Yeah!
Hey!
Missed a doll. Let me go back there. treasure chest with a man in it who's got scissors. Also a coffin with a scissors man in it. I think we might have found Nolan. Is he in the chest or the sarcophagus?
Hey!
There he is, found him.
I know, Ian!
What
You
happened?
motherfucker. he was just
Taking a
sleeping in
nap.
there like Vincent Valentine.
Ow.
Are you alright?
No, Ian, are you okay?
Damn. Somebody attacked me from behind. My head is still throbbing.
Okay. I should talk to him again. What's in the treasure chest? I want the treasure.
What about Jennifer?
Okay.
Have you found her?
Yeah, we found her. We did.
I'll help you look.
You did, remember?
We'll find her.
Helen's like, hey, I don't want to talk about that right now.
Fair. Are you kidding? But I'm talking to no Ian.
Well, no, Ian's dead.
Yes. Doesn't give you 5 fucking minutes, does it? That's why. You gotta kick him in the junk every 10 seconds, or he just comes back to stab me. I think he chases us here anyway. If it's exactly the same as it was for Jennifer.
But I want Nolan to die?
But you can put Nolan in a coffin, but you can't make him die.
This is tragic.
Maybe you won't see me if I hide around the corner. I thought I'd be able to try and go across there, but apparently you can't do that if you're being chased, even though he chases you when you do it. Hey, is there anything in this castle that like defeats Scissorman?
Oh!
Like a thing we can hit him with, or real fake dogs? I have no idea where I am. I just started running. Is this alive? Yeah! Wait, what? She won't do a jump, will she? Okay.
Helen!
She was gonna do an epic jump, and it'd be brilliant. And everyone would say, oh man, Helen's so cool. Right, Scissorman, you're in an awful spot. Can you please go on the other side of me?
No. Absolutely
Okay,
not.
we're going back this way now. Eventually we'll be able to get back to where Nolian is. One day.
One day you'll find him again.
One day we'll find Nolian. I know where he is, I just can't go there because Scissorman won't leave.
Scissorman, it's time to go.
Yeah. I don't know where anything else is either. Oh, if the fucking wardrobe's in here, but I'll die if I use it. So... Oh, never mind. Is there any more pots?
Frying pan?
Right. Ah.
You
Frying
good?
pan now. And I throw cans at Scissorman. Oh!
Can you hide in the box? Helen! Helen, please! No!
What the fuck, Scissorman? What do you want? What do I do? Go away! Huh?
Also do a hydrate when you get a chance. Was it because you were out of stamina?
I think it's just because it's random. As far as I know, it's just a random chance to just die.
Bye, Orchid! Thanks for stopping in!
Oh. I wasn't even looking at the screen when I went back up.
Well, hey, Scissorman is at the top of the stairs. Ladder? At the top.
Oh, never mind. I guess we're straight into the mini game. Is there any item that kills Scissorman left in the whole universe that I haven't already used?
That's a good question.
Or is this just forever now? Are we in permanent Scissorman hell? Is this the door nowhere? No, I don't think that animation plays if you go out the door to nowhere.
Can we hide behind the rack of robes? Have we done that? Oh! JK!
It's miles away.
Yeah. I just couldn't think of anything else. But it's fine, we did door to nowhere.
He just chases you so often, and you have to run so far to get away from him now, and I'm just like... I don't know, Scissorman, can we not?
Hey buddy, have you considered taking a break?
It takes me like exactly as long to find where I'm going as it takes Scissorman to start chasing me again.
Yeah.
It's not a great situation.
Well, we could restart the save, but that would require you going back and finding the key and everything.
I think that'd be a next time thing, even if we just quit now.
It's like a swiper situation.
Just starting to reach my Scissorman limit.
That's fair. We can stop whenever.
Leave.
We can stop whenever you wanna.
We are locked into a bad ending. Do we have a cooldown game we could switch it up?
We could. It's real heavy.
Oh, I have bullets for a musket. There's another door nowhere.
This castle has too many doors to nowhere.
Okay, if I did it again. Oh, no, he's gone. I just don't know what I'm doing, man. I'm so lost. And
yeah.
Scissorman will not leave. This is horrible.
I feel like we got, like, mixed up enough that trying to, like, backtrack and figure out what we're doing
maybe we should just use a guide for this next time, because it's actually insane.
Helen's stuff is a little ridiculous.
It's like, there's a pixel in one room. There's an item, there's a key that's invisible, but if you search this one thing in the background, you'll find a key. Next time.
What game?
I don't remember exactly where we were. We just got the key off the man and then I ran and immediately used it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, well, I'm gonna exit out of that, so we're just gonna have a weird blank screen for a moment.
Oh, sorry, I should have probably discussed,
No, it's fine, it's fine! Do you have a game that you want to cool down with, or should I find something?
Oh, dang, I don't know.
So I could just do some Isaac. That's what I've been doing with my life lately.
Let's do some Isaac. I have enjoyed watching you play Isaac.
Let's do some Isaac then.
Yeah.
Let's go. But yeah, I mean we got pretty dang far in Helen's stuff, and then we got lost. But that's okay.
Next time we're gonna do it so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're gonna believe your dang eyes.
Make it that big? This is fine. This is fine.
Life was simple.
I can see
Let's go.
eyes!
Let's go.
Let me quickly go get a drink. I'll be right
Yeah,
back.
yeah, go do your thing. This is fine. I am accidentally gonna keep going back to the options menu. I've been trying to do greed mode because I just want to unlock the stuff so I can do the alternate path, but greed mode sucks. Ugh. It's fine. Oh, I should probably, like, update information and stuff. Okay, hold on.
Oh.
No, it's fine. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
I'm back up, by the way.
Welcome back. I just realized I needed to update everything. So it's
Oh,
fine. It's fine. I know what game I'm looking up. This is fine.
Does it get 3?
It's Gex 3. Yes. Correct?
Croc Legend of the Gobbers.
No.
Do we need to know how to spell Gobbers? Is that the problem we're having?
No.
That's a real game. Croc Legend of the Gobbers.
Listen, I wanna
Hiding
play.
from Scissorman nonsense.
I
Oh
wanna
yeah,
play
I forgot it
Croc.
rebelled.
It has rebelled a lot.
Forgot
It
Croc had decided he
refuses.
just didn't want to go on adventures anymore. Sick of Gobbers, actually.
And it's like, but I wanted to play you. I wanted to play this game. And then it said, no, actually, you're not allowed to. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm not allowed to. I guess I can't play Croc, actually.
Defeated the guy with the pointy knees.
Yeah,
You
we were
so
like
far.
most of the way through the ice levels, if not all the way through the ice levels. And then my saves were like, ha! Jokes. Yeah, it's Isaac now. I have updated
It's
content
Isaac.
warnings and game
Oh,
link
you
and all
got
that good
the-
stuff.
The mob tot slime we used.
Yeah, it's very good. Look.
Oh no, we on green mod.
Yes. And I've already fucked myself. Great.
Walked into a fire instantly.
Yep. It's fine. It's fine. It's all fine. Look, there's a heart here. It's fine. Why are we
Thank
worried
you,
about
Ed.
anything?
Sometimes Ed gives you nothing but pain. Sometimes he'll say, you know what, Keshi's gonna walk into this fire right at the start of the run, so I'm gonna just do her a solid and put a hat in the shop.
It's a whole heart though, so it is technically a waste. So it
Eh.
still doesn't feel great.
You can only have one whole hat, you Judas. It's fine.
Yeah, but still, I can't see shit. It is so dark.
I'll tell you where they are.
Thanks.
They're above you and also below you.
To the left and right of me.
Yeah, they're to the left and right as well, but I didn't want to overload you.
Thanks, I appreciate it, friend.
I've enjoyed this stream even though I did fail to defeat Video Game.
You know what? Not every single Clock Tower stream can end with us finding an ending in a single go. So, like, fuck you.
That fucking guy.
So, like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Stop giving me speed!
Why have we got... That's the same first item, Ed.
This is the third time that I have done... Third time in a row that I have done this.
Is one of the mods broken, so you always get speed ball?
I only have 2 mods, and it's the item one and the fuck you one. But no, thank you, Train Stream, for the follow. I appreciate it.
Train, you want follow?
I wasn't gonna say nothing, but you know.
A single tear rolls down through his cheek.
No follow? It's all good. Oh, piss. This is fine. It's fine. Gotta fix it.
Oh, there's a tinted rock there.
Yeah, there is, but I don't have a bomb!
Yeah, there's so many bombs in the shop that are free if you can acquire a bomb.
I scream. I scream. No! I thought I was gonna get touched! Thought I was gonna get pooped on.
Acquire one bomb with savvy investments. You could turn that into... Hang on, you spend a bomb, you get 2 bombs. You spend a bomb, you get 3 bombs.
You're right. Could.
Tough maths there. What is?
It's
2
very
plus 2
nearly
minus
half the
1.
bombs.
Yeah, almost ran out of fingers.
Oh, away, big spider boy. Oh, you're what's stopping the boss from spawning in. Okay. Please. Please. Tears. Please. My thumb is falling off the analog stick.
No!
It's fine.
No.
We're fine. I have recentered again. It's fine. Don't even worry about it. Let's be bold.
I'm scared. I hate when it's someone who fucking burrows and you can't just spawn
Hit
off
them.
screen.
Ever? Hit them ever? Oh! Ah! Okay, it's fine.
It's when they
The
spawn
panic-
off screen because the chance of you accidentally just walking on top of them and them killing you before
Right?
you've ever like had any chance to dodge them.
Right? Well, I can't take Lusty Blood, which is sad. Now there's stupid spiders in here.
Stan,
No!
what's the deal? Okay, I guess we're talking to Jesus this round. Fuck off, Stan.
I hate you, Stan. I don't hate you, Stan. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that. I don't want, like, any of these. I'll take the latchkey key.
Latchkey's
And-
kind of worth just because it's free. It's not free keys. It's kind of expensive keys, but still.
Do it.
Oh yeah, it's a soul hat too. No, latchkey's just a good get.
Yeah.
2 keys in a soul hat for 15. That's very reasonable.
That's acceptable, and we will take it. What is this? 10% chance to shoot a fist?
Sometimes shoots hand.
Okay!
I think the hands like do a bunch of knockback, and if the enemy hits a wall or another enemy, they take quite a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Pretty
I like the noise they made. Bam. Also, I'm gonna do it. I want the coins.
Oh, I thought you were looking for that secret room. You found the secret room.
I mean, if I got the fuck you.
I did that on purpose.
It's one of those. If I got the secret room, it was gonna be a good, like a nice, fun little plus for me. But if I didn't, it wasn't gonna be too big of a deal. It was a big deal, though. Give me that. Give me key.
Are we gonna go chaos and just make everything horrible?
Tempted. Very tempted.
Chaos for chat is an item that when you pick it up, just fucks up all the item pools. It just slams them all together.
Yep.
Anything could show up anywhere.
Yep.
Which, you know, means your shop could just have, like, devil items in it. But also, your devil room could have trash in it. Could have been Spider Butt and Bob's Rotten Head.
No! Okay, it's fine.
Nearly.
I was so scared. Just gonna go ahead and pick up another key for, you know, the next place. And we'll just go ahead and get hit, because why not?
The enemies appeared exactly where you were stood.
Ugh.
You get telefragged a lot in this.
Yup. That's
This
horrible.
mod sucks.
It's horrible, but I need it so I can do the alternate path, because I kept trying to do the alternate path, and it's impossible if you don't, if you just, ah!
Yeah, it's really, you need, what were it, 800 and some odd coins in the donation machine?
Yep!
To get the Holy Mantle for the Lost, and without it, it's so much harder to do the alt path.
I've almost
You
managed
have
to
to
get
clear
through.
a flow without getting hit.
I've almost managed to do it, but I've always died, like, at the last second, which is almost more frustrating than if I died super early on. I hate it. I hate it.
It's not like that's the, like, hard part, right? Like,
Mm-mm.
there's more after that's also really hard.
Mm-hmm. Not that I would know, though, because I've never gotten there.
Phase boss fight.
Ugh. Get out of here. Larry, you're shit. Literally.
Oh,
I'll take him. He's an easy boss. No!
exactly, that's why I like Larry. Monstro, could you not?
Monstro, that's just...
That's
two
my
is too
spot.
many.
You cannot appear there.
Right? I need you to not be directly on top of me.
Ooh, I think you got one.
Thwap.
Made him explode in the background.
Yeah.
I like being able to hear stuff again.
Isn't it nice?
Nice.
Isn't it nice? I like hearing things.
Yeah, we do. If it were a normal run, I'd say look for 100%, but it's not. You'll never see a pill, so it's not really worth it.
Okay.
Just needed that second heart. Oh.
Yeah. But also...
Yeah, you got a pill. I was wrong. Instantly. Yo, I've never had 6 bombs at once in Greed mode.
Well, let's take it up to 9.
Oh,
Okay.
Dead
Okay.
does not normally give you bombs in Greed mode. This is new.
6 bombs is cool and all, but consider 9. I kind of wanna.
Yeah, the range is a pain, but there's a lot of shot speed.
We'll wait to take it.
Hey, range up, that exactly counters the range down of number 1.
And I wanna. I don't know if this is a hot take or not. I do like Spider Mod.
Yeah, it's fun. Oh, is that a counterfeit penny?
Yeah.
I think you should take.
Oh.
You should take
Yeah.
counterfeit penny.
Yeah, I
don't wanna backseat too hard.
No, do
but
it. Do
that
it.
is fucking busted in this mod.
Anything to get me through this bad time that I am having here. I forgot to set this off. Okay, that's fine. We're doing it now. Fuck off! Fuck off! No! I hate you.
Why
Get
you
outta here.
fall, weird neck guy?
What
Ooh.
even are you
Got your
here
head
for?
stompy again.
Give. Give. Give, give, give! Ah! Are you... Nothing. That's fine. That's fine. This is fine. This is all fine? Yeah. Yeah, let's go. I do like just stacking my active item.
Belial.
It's very good.
It does less every time you use it after the burst, I think, but it's
yeah,
still,
but it's still
and you
still
can
good.
You can stack it what 3-4 times something in each room in this one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not bad, is it?
Mm-mm. Oh,
it is
okay.
nice being Judas. Just having damage and not having to worry about damage.
Right? Do I want to? Ah! I guess I do! No,
I
no,
love
fuck
double
off!
step. This is fine.
No, fuck off! No! Go away!
The knockback is actually really good when he's doing this bullshit.
Yeah, it is. Oh, fuck.
So, like, this pattern is... You can, like, learn to dodge that pattern, like, perfectly every time, but when there's two of them doing it at once, sometimes you just can't dodge it.
I can
sometimes
usually...
it's just not openings.
Right? No, I can usually dodge them when it's just the... Fuck off. When it's just the one, but... With two, it's too much. There's too many things happening on my screen. They were so close to dying, too.
Yeah, I think there's just one left. Games are a lot harder when you talk.
Yeah. Honestly, not that I was doing much better on my own, though. Honestly.
Ooh, minus 24 win streak.
Yeah, it's not been good. It's because I've been trying to do greed mode. Yeah, no, that is a cool strat that I've thought about using, but I'm not super sold on it just yet.
Consider not touching the bullets to avoid taking damage.
Let's do... Is that the negative? Yeah, I haven't done the negative with Judas. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, stain sucks. 2 stain sucks. Bad. It's bad there when 2 stain.
If you got, like, absolutely busted damage, the Stain doesn't have that much health, he's just invulnerable a lot of the time. So, like, it's fine. You just delete him. But if you don't have, like, I can instantly delete the boss levels of damage, it is a pain in the ass.
Again, single stain, manageable. Can do. Yeah. It's annoying, but whatever.
One stain's, like, harder than the other bosses of that level, but still doable. But 2 stains is... Sometimes one just perfectly covers the opening that you'd have to use to dodge the other, and there's nothing you can do about it, you just take damage.
Yeah. It's not good. Can't say we're a fan.
Yeah, normally when you see 2 stains, then you can't, like, instantly remove them with brimstone lasers. It's like, I am taking damage here at least.
I don't need to deal with the fires. It's fine. It's fine. Everything is fine here, actually. Flies! Flies! I don't understand their pattern. I know that they go in a line together, but it doesn't make any sense to me.
Jeez.
It's fine. It's fine. You know what? It's fine. Look, I like Isaac. I have never said I was good at Isaac, though.
Hey, I don't need to be good at Isaac, I have the figurines.
Yeah, listen!
Don't worry.
The amount of money that I have given to Ed is a lot!
Ed, we need to talk, we need a system here. I give you money, I buy you figurines, you give me damage ups.
You give me damage ups, you give me health up when I am... No,
you let me beat greed mode so I can, get the Holy Mantle for the loss.
So I can play the rest of your stupid game that I keep spending money on. Ed, you have told me on 4 separate occasions that you are officially done with Isaac, and then you're not officially done with Isaac. Ed! Edward!
Edward!
What's a run I can actually win? Azazel? Let's go.
Simply do Lazarus, without dying
No.
to unlock Stefan. See you, Trev.
Thank you, Train, for stopping in and saying hi. Have a good rest of your evening, friend. Excuse me while I just scream about Isaac. Oh.
Zazel starts with Brimstone and just does a fucking ton of damage. And when people get, like, stressed out from Isaac, they just play as Azazel to get some wins. I am shit as Azazel. I don't know what is going on, but I cannot win runs as Azazel. I am
Azazel's
so bad.
so
I
fun,
walk
though.
into the guy I'm hitting with the laser every time. It's not even like, they don't even have to be moving. I'll just walk into them.
Oh, that was a problem. This was poorly thought out. It's fine.
Range is pretty good.
What was that
This boy.
horrible noise that I just heard?
You have defeated the boss here in less than a minute, I think is what happened.
And then you hear the bad running sound?
And then you go back to the room you started in and you bomb the middle of the room. Hey, it's a broken shovel.
Okay. I'm scared. Oh, I've gone the wrong way. Mom?
Mom is mad.
Not actual moms, in case my mom heard me. let me clarify. Fuck!
It's fine, you can just fly, you just press the button.
Yeah, but mom's feet. Mom feet. Mom feet!
Oh yeah, no, you're right. That was a problem, actually. When you exploded, I realized that was actually an issue.
It was the mom feet that I was scared of.
So this is some dumb bullshit that I've been trying to do. You can unlock a character who's a skeleton, but I can't because I'm bad.
Oh!
You have to do a thing in Shell, I think.
Okay. Well, that's great, because we're doing the negative anyway. I have to go...
Yeah.
Wait, no, you go to Shul anyway, don't you? Oh,
Yeah.
Remember...
Yeah, you do.
Ah! Sorry. Also, hi, boss! It's bad here! If I just don't stop moving... No, I want that. Hey, now would be a really great time for Void. Actually. Fuck off!
It's absolute bullshit. It's so hard.
Yeah, it is!
Yeah, defeat the first floor boss in under a minute. Then you bomb the starting room. And you have to have defeated the lamb at least once.
Well, I've defeated the lamb many a time. Come here, baby. Ah! This is horrible. Everything is bad here, actually.
It also stops the Polaroid from even spawning, so you have to go to Shoal.
Okay, well that's good to know.
It's like saying, hey, I want you to go this way.
Well, that's nice of it.
Oh, and you get the second one by completing boss rush with the first half of the broken shovel, and then you have a full shovel.
Horrible. Give me that.
You
No!
can have all.
Stupid fucking baby!
It wasn't even you, it was a guy. Chilly.
fucking
Chilly,
baby.
you can't stay mad. Be mad at Mungo, baby, not me.
It's fine, we can leave and come back.
If you don't hit this guy for a while, he becomes your friend.
I appreciate you playing these games while we're streaming together so you can just explain everything while I just scream. Because I will just scream? That's fine, I'll accept that.
Did he? Is he mad because the black cat exploded on
Yeah.
him?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Ah!
He's nice.
Let's just do it. We're suffering anyway. Let's just fucking go.
Let's just suffer. Let's cry. Oh no, it's the sewer.
Yeah, I have dross now.
We have fuck you or blood rights. Blood rights is trash though, right?
Yeah. I'd rather outbreak. Let's go. I'll take the fuck you.
Blood
Get
rights is a 10 out of 10. Oh hey, I can vibe this. Oh wait, what have I done?
It's Anarchist Cookbook all over again.
It's worse. It's just
I guess.
guaranteed to hurt you. At least Anarchist Cookbook
If you're speedy enough.
Just unlucky you can dodge.
Okay. Alright.
Make the game like 100 times harder with this new DLC as well.
Yeah!
The new DLC, the most recent one. It's not new anymore, I guess.
It is the newest, therefore it is new. We can only stop calling it new as soon as it's like a decade old.
As well as like
Fuck off.
adding the new paths, new bosses, like just general new things you can do that make your runs harder and more miserable. It also, the hard mode now increases the shot speed of the enemies to like 1,000,000%.
Yeah.
They now all have railguns instead of firing incredibly slow bullets.
Yeah. Stan, give me something good. That's not good, Stan!
And I would have loved to have. I would have loved to have this boy, but I cannot.
I can't take it, Stan, you'll kill me!
Can do the boss trap room. I mean, you'd die, but you could, in theory, go in the boss trap room.
Gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. Unless... I'm gonna do
That
it.
is so worth it.
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, it's 3 soul hearts. It doesn't even do anything else, but it's so worth it right now. Oh my god. I
Bad
hate this guy.
poops! Bad poops!
Such a bad poop. So
Hey,
like
if you
this move, like how do you dodge that?
You
What are
don't!
you doing? You kind of like you get pushed around by the like you're getting pushed around by the like swirly thing, and also he fires the enemies at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Hey, okay. I have no idea how much health I have because I stopped paying attention to how many times I got hit.
We have, I'm gonna say 2 full hearts. That is partially a guess. If we have 2.5 hearts, we'll be pleasantly surprised. When instead of dying, we survive for long enough to say, "Oh, I thought I was dead," and then we'll die.
Okay, this is where the white room is. Where is our treasure room, though? Here's our treasure room. I found it.
It's not that bad. But yeah, I mean, you could do that. It's just always bad.
Yeah, but look, it's already bad anyway, right? So, like... I should
This
figure
room
out-
is gonna be the one that kills you. If you're not ready.
Yeah, It's fine, I'm sure. Got anything good? No.
Light is an item that you can have in the game Binding of Isaac.
That's how we'll do that.
I kind of love Spider Mod. I don't even.
I love Spider Mod. Love. Adore.
Spider Mod was an actual mod that showed you the like numbers and stuff before they actually added that to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone was like, "Hey Ed, all your items just say some vague bullshit, but don't actually tell me what they do.
Wait, why am I
Can you
going
tell
there?
me what
No.
anything does?"
And Ed was like, maybe.
He was pretty like staunchly against it.
Fuck.
Yeah.
I forgot
You
that I could
had
just
to
float over
yeet
it.
yourself to the side and spend the key, because
Yeah.
like it's
I
just simpler to do. But
I
then
just-
I would yeet myself in the opposite direction because I would forget that it's mirrored.
I didn't realize I still had keys, so I panicked and like had to look, and then
Yeah.
I got. Let's do one more run, and then we'll call it there.
One last run, and then 5 hours later.
Listen, I will probably be playing this after stream, or doing other things if you want to do other things after stream. But one more run on stream.
Yeah.
I can limit myself to that.
Did we say hi to Voss, by the way?
I said hi. I thought I said hi. If not, hi, boss.
I can't remember if I said hi.
There's a lot
Hi,
going
Voss,
on in
if I didn't
Isaac.
say hi.
It's fine.
Just don't
There's-
want to leave Voss unhide.
Unhellowed.
Yeah. You got hello Voss.
Okay, Poops, I need you to go. I need you to stop being so wiggly, and I need you to go. That'll be nice on the next floor. Give me Virgo. Let's go.
Ah, Virgo, one of those items. I have no idea what they do. I should have read the description.
Yeah, I kind of just grabbed it without going. I know Virgo's not bad. I think it gives you invincibility if after getting hit for a short amount of time. I think.
Okay, that's nice.
I
Yo,
think.
red candle. It's just not gonna get enough coins, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be so good though with
Nope.
with Zazzle. It's so nice to just have a ranged attack
Mm-hmm.
that kind of ons.
Oh no, take care of yourself, boss. Okay.
Love being able to do stuff like that with Zazzle, where that'd be really annoying with anyone else. But hey, I have flight and brimstone. Let me just hide in this wall.
Right? Let me tell you how great this is. Whoa! Hey! 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 You're not allowed to, you can't do that. Let's go.
Oof.
Because I want to suffer. I just want to suffer. Is what's happening here. I just want to suffer. Oh,
Remind of that.
jeez.
Azazel is not Blue Baby. He can get red hearts. He just doesn't start with any.
Ugh.
Friendly boss sucks.
Yeah. But what
I
is
mean,
this? It's boiled, baby.
It's
Alright.
Alright.
It's not
not-
actively horrible.
It's. I mean, the other one, like, you could just not worry about it. Sometimes it, like, does a thing. It's just not
No.
ever good.
No.
Few enemies you can catch that are, like, okay, but then, like, you go into a room and they just, like, spawn in a pit or
Mm-hmm.
just get stuck inside an enemy, and then, like, a boss just wipes them all out anyway. 'Cause, like,
Look, I
basically every time with that bell.
I don't want to be bothered with any of that. I don't want to have to think about having to hit a button and then getting mad that I've done something. Yeah.
For very little reward. That's what Virgo's doing. Thanks, Virgo.
Yeah. Virgo gives me shielding after taking hits sometimes. Stop farting!
Never. You can't make me.
Please, no more farting. Consider less farts, please.
This is my least favorite boss. Something. Oh, his bullets took her through the rocks, though.
We live
Fuck
over
you,
here
actually,
now.
boss. What if we were just safe and everything was fine?
What if I was just real cheap with this game? With this game that likes to be real cheap with me?
Yeah, it's super allowed to just be... to do shenanigans on it is fine. Fully allowed.
Okay, yeah, get your poop stuck on the poo. And then get out of here.
Just get your poop stuck on the poo.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta poop up.
That's a pretty... Oh, I thought that'd be better.
What we got in here?
Baden would give you... It would put you on 2 blackouts, right? It wouldn't kill you? Yeah! It's fine.
I was willing to risk it all. I was ready to throw the whole run away just to test that. I am not disappointed. Not Bumbo.
Fuck off, Bumbo.
Not.
Oh, wait,
okay, no. That.
It's
Yep. Nope.
super extra
Okay.
range.
This is fine. This is acceptable and
Genuinely
fine.
success with the... Does mean you kind of have to shoot backwards if you want to fully benefit
That's
from the
fine.
range,
No, but that's fine. I can work with that.
Yeah, it's
Also, I'm
actually
gonna-
really nice. I've had this before.
I always forget until I've like, I'll pick it up and then I'll be like, ah, boomerang tears, and then I'm like, wait, no, actually,
Yeah, it
this
just
is
kicks ass with
fine.
Brimstone always. Even with the regular Brimstone, because it's still, you kind of need to fire it backwards, but it just goes to the end of the room instead of stopping.
Mm-hmm. It's very good. Also, we've already found... Consider, though... Is this the White Flame level? It is, okay. Oh, fuck off. Out of here with that. What does Blank Rune do?
Can't remember. What's the drop button you should see? Okay.
Random
Random
rune
rune
effect.
sometimes just gives you another blank rune.
Okay.
So you could get the one that gives you a... One of them gives you a soul hat and clears the curses, right?
I think so.
And I mean, there's always Yera. Hey! I don't know when that was.
I think that was Abundance.
Ah, I like that one. It just needs to be in a room with items in them.
Yeah. Okay. I know I'm wasting all of my bombs, but on the off chance that I get more hearts... Oh, that did not go as far as I wanted it to.
Hey, the boiled buddy shoots red tears. Oh my god, this is super doable. Yeah. Also, you don't have the curse. That means you can't see your health here?
Yeah, yeah. There's nothing in here ever, is there?
I don't think so. Are you going for the boss? You're insane. I'm scared. Oh god, it's the guy who shoots the flies! No!
Fuck! I was so close!
Yeah.
Alright.
One health.
Yeah. That's okay. You know what? I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that.
Very good round.
Let's call it there, I guess. I did say one more, and that was one more. Alright. Well, we got some Clock Tower done, and that was cool and exciting, and I still love Clock Tower, even if it did kind of cause you to, you know, go a little wacky. And then there was Isaac, so that's always exciting.
Yeah, that was fun.
Let's see. I've got...
Could think about doing some, like, Zomboid on stream or something.
Yes, please.
Build the cult compound on stream.
Yes, please. You want to do that next weekend?
Absolutely.
Right.
That's fully within the scope of a horror game, definitely.
It is. No, 100%. And then we could do our wild, wacky nonsense with our cult compound. Yeah. No, I'm here for that. Let's go. Alright. I have 3 people on. We got Dot doing some Donkey Kong Country. Cauliflump's doing some Warhammer. I also have...
Flumps, I really like you, but I don't like what I'm about inside. Please stream other things so I can raid you.
We also have this artist that I really like named Voldevia. He does like horror stuff.
That sounds cool.
So we could go raid him. He's got...
Sounds kind of cool.
All right, let's go raid Val. Let's go. It looks like he's making dog.jpg at the moment. I just see a picture of a husky with human teeth.
Oh god.
All right, let's go. Let's go say hi to Val. We will see everyone next time. I'll probably, again, the plan is to stream tomorrow, but we'll see how the weather is and how tired I am. But we'll do some more Dying Light then. Fruity streams usually on Tuesdays, Thursdays, occasionally on other days when they're feeling like it.
Yeah. I'm in alone, so I might be doing. I might see how I feel, but I might be doing earlier streams just through the week until everyone gets home and ruins everything.
Nice. Enjoy the time while they're gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, we will see everyone next time.
Yeah. Bye, gang.